One, and we are on. Larry Hitchcock, thank you so much for joining us for
I'm very happy to, Chip.
for the AWS Milwaukee Meetup 10-minute point of view. Hey, I am a huge fan of Socialeads, so much so I'm sporting the shirt too.
Nice, like that.
I like it too. Yes. Hey, I'm super intrigued by not only your journey, but the entire journey of where you came from and what you've done and how that moved into conceiving Socialeads, and then ultimately where you guys are today, which is pretty extraordinary.
Sure.
Walk us through as quick as you can. We got
Sure. Well, I'm a Milwaukee native, but I escaped the winters back when I was a much younger guy than I am now, and spent 30 years in California, 15 in Silicon Valley. Kind of came up through the whole software ecosystem there as it began back in the early 90s, and then spent the last 15 or 17 years in Southern California doing the same thing, basically riding the growth of the ecosystem. Done everything there is to do in tech except code. Been an entrepreneur, been a VC, been in big Fortune 500 companies. I'm the crazy, entrepreneurial, catalyst guy they bring in that lasts 4 or 5 years before they're mad enough at me to kick me out. And Milwaukee is my hometown, and I was literally here in town visiting my mom and dad, who live across the street from Northwestern Mutual's global headquarters. NM is the largest life insurer in North America. If they were publicly traded, which they're not, they'd be the Fortune 50 company in the world. And they were doing a thing called reverse pitch, which is pretty common today in big companies. Executives stand up in front of a crowd, in this case, 700 or 800 entrepreneurs, tech services companies, guys from AWS were there, Azure guys were there, Google was there. And they talk about business challenges, operational challenges that need tech solutions. Parenthetically, NM's got thousands of software engineers on staff. They're like every other big company going through digital transformation. And they got up in front of us, talked about 5 different challenges. 2 of them were around field sales. And I, was not really there to start a company. I was there to visit my mom and dad, who my dad was having a birthday, and went to get out of the house for a little while. Happened to think of a couple of ideas about 2 of the challenges that they talked about, which were around how do they get their digital native new hire field sales advisors to be more proficient at selling their products. I hypothesized that these people are people with smartphones in their pocket, which back in the day, when I had my first mobile phone, it was about this big, and it took 3 hours just to, get the battery to charge for 10 minutes. They don't use telephones to call. So the phone is not a sales tool for a digital native in a sales environment. They text message, they use their social media and their social networks to communicate with each other. And so I came up with an idea that said, why don't we connect an AI platform to their social networks that can map all the connections for them. So in the old days, we all had Rolodexes, and we knew who was the person that was most influential in our network of people, and we would go have coffee with them and invite them to introduce us to their friends. Nowadays, that's all done digitally. I took the little booklet that they hand out at all these events and wrote down a couple of ideas. Sent it out to the people who were doing the reverse pitch, and cut to 2 months later, me and my co-founder Matthew Salzer get invited to come to their headquarters, co-develop an AI machine learning platform alongside of their digital innovation and their executive leadership team, and then launch it inside of their field sales group as quickly as we could build it.
That's incredible. All while just coming and visiting your parents.
Exactly. Just here, my dad's birthday was 78 that year, about 24 months ago, and he's doing great now. Thank goodness, knock wood. And the company's doing great. We're co-located inside of NM's global headquarters, so we get to rub elbows with their executive team and their field sales team and their technologists, every day.
Oh, that's excellent. I think that NM has done such an incredible job of reinventing themselves essentially into a technology company that just happens to do financial services.
Yep, they certainly have. Yeah, they have. they were our first investor. So in addition to getting free lunch and office space, they put money into the company. They've invested in us again. And we're on the cusp of rolling the platform out to their field sales organization. So it's been an amazing journey with one of the oldest life insurance companies in the world. They've been doing it for 160 plus years, and they're bringing their industry kicking and screaming into the modern age.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Larry, the big question is, why AWS?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, not being a coder, my instincts as an entrepreneur is to put together the best team of people I can, sort of at every juncture. So I bring in software architects, I bring in technologists. In our data science team, we were crafty enough to get the head of data science at the scooter company, Bert, to leave that company and come and work for us. So he's on the case. We had obviously many cloud services solutions at our disposal because we built everything from scratch. So we don't have any legacy product or legacy infrastructure that we have to deal with. When we looked around, there really was only one choice. I mean, AWS is a great product. It's a single ecosystem that serves every one of our component technologies. So it enables, native code commits. It enables our entire data science system, our model building, our model training to sit inside a SageMaker. Your Python Jupyter Notebook ecosystem is fantastic. So everything that we do end to end, whether it's our app database, our front end, our web servers just for customer acquisition, all the way through how our machine learning engine works, how our natural language processing, our model training works, it's all built into one ecosystem that we know how to maintain. You guys have been great partners with us, helping us at a technical level to make sure that the architecture is done well. We're using your systems effectively and efficiently. And it's a really great secure environment. We just got finished with weeks and weeks of enterprise security evaluations. So small tech startups generally don't have a good time working with a Fortune 50 company trying to figure out, are we risky for them? Are we secure? Are we going to have a data breach? And we just got to the end of it, which worked out perfectly great because a lot of the feature set that AWS gives us are already well known to CISOs and InfoSec teams and groups of people who are really, being very cognizant of whether or not an application that's deployed at the production level for an enterprise the size of Northwestern Mutual is ready for prime time.
Yeah. So how big is the team, the dev team?
We got a very, very small, efficient team. So we've got one data science guy, Dave, who's both our data engineer and our sort of PhD data science guy. We've got head of product, Erin Delacroix, who's formerly at LinkedIn. She led the user experience design team at LinkedIn. So all of our front end is Silicon Valley, top grade stuff. Two engineers here in Milwaukee, collaborate a lot with your technical teams at AWS. And then a bunch more, everybody else is either sales like me or client success. So we've got about 8 people. We're growing. We've got in addition to NM, we've got a bunch of other enterprise clients that are in pilot. And then, given the strange time we're in, we've got a lot of sales teams that are working from home that are looking for better digital tools to help them prospect. So we're finding, great traction in the current climate.
So when you look at the current climate, obviously, and you go through the process of what you've constructed in terms of being able to net together all these different social network feeds and be able to run them through some of the most sophisticated algorithms and leveraging quite an extensive set of services from AWS. Is the plan to move outside of financial services and be a cross-industry solution?
Sure, yeah. And we're getting even drawn that way by just sort of the breadth of the insurance market, as well as we were on the phone last night with a company in Australia that does everything from homeowners and renters insurance to they just launched a pet insurance line. So we're sort of homegrown inside of financial services. I mean, life insurance is a component of an integrated financial services company. And that's that's a big, robust business all by itself. But the system is trainable to basically any opportunity detection within digital speech. So our natural language processing engine has been tuned to read social speech, but obviously that's more difficult than reading regular English. So the engine can read and consume any kind of digital content, and teaching it how to see what's a good opportunity versus not a good opportunity is just a matter of training it for different industry nomenclature and different marketing signals.
Mm. Excellent. I'm just curious, when I start thinking about cross-industry and start thinking about leveraging all the unique services that you're ultimately going to be bringing to market, what's the plan, the eventual plan for the business?
That's an interesting one. Well, we've got obviously lots of traction to just continue to mine and growing inside of our core competencies. The financial service business, as an example, has somewhere between 350,000 and 400,000 advisors just in the U.S. So that's a pretty big market for us to continue growing into. We're getting a lot of interesting opportunities to see what happens if our AI engine can be a direct selling component of the overall digital marketing stack. So we do more than just determine what kind of things people are talking about. The engine also does things like personality dimension measurement, courtesy of some folks that have a long history in places like eHarmony and other sorts of personality matching engines. We also are measuring the emotional state of the writers. And the initial idea behind that is figuring out, trying to get at what is somebody's sense of financial anxiety or anxiety about their well-being. That's a good selling opportunity if you're in the life insurance business, if you're in the financial planning business. So we've got some sophisticated things that we built into the AI stack. As a small team, we roll these features and functionality out at the pace that a startup does, but a small team startup. So it's going to be very interesting to us as the company continues to grow. What do we do with a very large data set? We're consuming enormous amounts of digital content right now. When we get to a spot where we could act as a direct marketing automation component, where do we sit in that ecosystem? My investors are probably getting nervous hearing me say that, because obviously as a startup, we're supposed to focus and we're supposed to stay deep in our core competencies, but we're getting drawn in some interesting directions, I would say.
Oh, it sounds fantastic, Larry. I couldn't be happier for you. Appreciate you investing the time with us. It was a fascinating journey. Would you be open for an encore presentation at some point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll come back anytime. You guys are great. You've been great partners for us throughout the entire development process, from inception to, we're scaling up right now to very, very large data sets. And you guys have been fantastic to work with.
Hey, thank you very much, Larry. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.